Welcome to B1 Ministries, a podcast for the outcast. Spiritual conversations for everyday people. Come on. B1 with your universe. B1 with love for all humanity. B1. Spiritual conversations for everyday people. B1 with love for all humanity.
So here we go. B1love, B1 Ministries. We here with Ora, my granny. Love her to death by marriage and in love with her daughter. And she actually married me and her lovely granddaughter. And I've been graced to enjoy the experience of getting to know y'all side of the family. But one thing I do know about you, and I'm going to let you tell a little bit about your experiences, that you have worked alongside of a whole lot of different folks in ministry and loving on people, especially women with kids and whatnot. And just to explain a little bit about your journey, can you share a little bit with us about what that was like for you?
Well, certainly, and thank you so much. And the feeling is extremely mutual. I believe that you were sent into my life for a reason, and I believe that I've been kept here on this planet for a reason. The Lord has blessed me with 84 years of life on this planet. I am the youngest of my father's children. Out of 10, we have two left, 8 girls and 2 boys. So I have been kind of like involved with people since my early teens. I was active in the church, and not by choice. I mean, you just went because your parents told you to. But I became interested in church and church activities. I grew up early. I grew up too fast, I think it was, even for that time. Graduated early, went to college, got married too early, had a family, and found myself kind of floundering after some years of self-searching and being out of the church for reasons of disenchantment or what have you. But the Lord led me back to the church. And so I've been actively involved in church work ever since, and mission work and working with people, because in my working as a young mother, a young mother who didn't know anything about parenting, I had to learn from the hip, so to speak. So I raised my 5 children as a single parent. I have to go into 2 marriages, 5 children, and 2 unhappy marriages. And I found myself back to school with the family to raise a family of 5. Went back to school, went back to college, received my master's degree in social work, and found my place. Immediately after graduating from college, from School of Social Work, I went into human services. I worked for 11 years with the Department of Family Services for the state. And then I found myself, and I worked in mental health services in the state of Georgia for 3 years. But I found myself wandering back to Washington, and found myself in one of the most joyful journeys of my life, working with family ministers at Union Gospel Mission in Seattle. 20 wonderful years.
Wow.
I was so fulfilled. I got to see the whole plethora of humanness, and I had to learn. I was able to counsel women who had been battered women, abused women, broken families. I was able to find myself relating to people who I had never had experience of relating to, encouraging young women and even older women, families and women who were lost and women who didn't have plans or didn't have paths that they could relate to. And I found a way in that 20-year journey to reach those ladies and become peaceful with myself. I became at peace with myself, knowing that the things that I had gone through as a young, struggling young mother, and abused, a battered wife, misunderstood, battered wife, too young, I was able to pick out some of the things that had helped me strengthen my journey,
Right.
and share them with other people. It wasn't always easy, because a lot of times when you're working with people who have
Broken.
lost their way, or who are broken, or coming from dark places, it's not easy to give you a personal experience, because you want them to consider you a cut above. But I found myself being able to relate to some of the things that they were going through, had been through, and I was able to share those experiences in a positive light, not to glorify the unwise choices, but to share them in a positive light.
Right.
And so throughout that ministry experience, I found a new relationship with myself. When I was in college, I had read a book called In Search of Self. It was on the reading list, so I read it. But I began to really realize what it meant to search for self. A lot of times, I have found that when we're in activities or experiences, we lose ourselves, or we overshadow ourselves, or we glamorize ourselves, or we don't bring our true selves out.
And that sometimes is defined as the ego.
As the ego.
Edging God out.
Edging God
And
out.
ain't much love in that.
Not much love in that. It's self-aggrandizement. It's
Yes.
it's wanting to be loved, or wanting to be wanted, or wanting to be needed, and leaving self aside.
Right.
Well, I learned that the best way to involve yourself with other people is to engage with yourself.
Right.
So I learned to engage myself, and I had to do that by prayer and meditation, and making sure that I was balanced in my social activity and my personal activity, even my budgeting activity, even money saving and buying things and giving to your children and sharing with other people. There has to be a healthy balance. There has to be a healthy balance in yourself. You have to understand and be gentle with yourself. You have to understand how to give yourself the leeway, how to give yourself the space. I used to call it the degree of freedom and the margin of error. You have to give yourself the space to make a mistake.
Yes.
And
indeed.
recover, regroup.
And not necessarily know everything about love or how to love well, but learn a day at a time.
But learn a day at a time. Make
Experience after experience.
Experience on experience, and to use your experiences rather than stumbling blocks.
Right.
As building blocks.
Yeah, that's
And I learned a lot about people. I learned a lot about myself when I'm working with people. You learn about yourself when you go home at the end of the day, and you look at yourself and you think, "Wow, my whole my whole attitude or emphasis on self and living has been at the end of the day to recapture, and if I've done the things that I needed to do." And to be true to self and make the mistakes. And if I've made a mistake or done a wrong thing, a wrong step, be able to own up to that. Own my challenges, own my mistakes, own my errors, and make them better. Make them better. I raised my 5 children. The Lord saw, I asked the Lord at one point to keep me until I had seen all my children graduate from college with higher education degrees. God allowed that to happen 2 weeks ago.
With Sherry, huh?
My youngest daughter, which is not my youngest child, but my youngest daughter, was able to receive a bachelor's degree. And as I sat there in that blazing hot sun in that outdoor auditorium, watching her receive her degree, the Holy Spirit spoke to me and said, "I've done what you asked me to do." And so then I said to the Lord, then, well, Lord, if that's what all that has been assigned for me to do, I'm good. I'm good. But,
so what would you say, like, if you were giving advice, because, you know, we have folks on the web out here that are just seeking, you know, a better way to be able to express love, especially in a world that's so self-centered and so self-seeking, and it's really difficult to trust people or lean in and love people. How would you define that within your experience, especially working with broken folks? Like, what would be the advice that you would give for someone seeking to give all they can in love, but there's this barrier? You know what I mean? There's this something that doesn't let you move forward in that.
I kind of count that as planting a seed. If you dig up a plot of ground and you plant a little seed, it's not going to be a tomato tomorrow. Come on now. But you have to nurture it. You have to make sure that's in the proper environment. That it gets the proper amount from the natural environments, and sooner or later, sure enough, it will become a tomato. And then you have to be thankful and grateful for it, knowing that you didn't do it by yourself.
All the elements were involved.
All the elements were involved. All the nurturing, the watering, and the whatever, the care and giving. The natural things that you cannot give.
In and of yourself.
In and of yourself, but you have to be a part. See, we are part of the universe. We are a part of this natural. As I sit here right now, I am a part. I'm a grandmother of 7, a great-grandmother of 11, a great-great-grandmother of 3, and to the 5th generation. And that's a blessing to me.
Wow.
And so
all that nature.
I've been
doing what it do.
Doing what it, and I've been able to touch. And actually, the thing is, I've been able to touch. I only have a few of them that I haven't actually held in my arms and nurtured, you know. And so, and I think that has a bearing effect, not only on me, because it invigorates me. It revitalizes me when I'm able to show my little 19-year-old great-granddaughter how to bake a cake. Show my little 10-year-old great-great-grandson how to tie a shoe.
And so would you say that has that experience in love, giving love, sharing love, would have an impact on your health, your well-being, you know, you're just kind of like your attitude in life? Absolutely. Because when I remember a pastor told me, he said, hurt people, and love people, love people.
Absolutely. I believe that, excuse me, in the giving of oneself. And see, if it's love, I don't even know how to express, because we've read a lot about love and we hear about songs about love, but it's not only an emotion, it's a living, breathing entity.
Come on, somebody.
You know, it's just an automatic. First of all, you wake up in the morning and you love God because He loved you.
Just to start.
Just to begin with. And then everything that you do it with love. And it's not something that you automatically put on when I'm gonna put on love today. You know, it's something that and I'm just gonna say it's a spiritual thing as well.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's a spiritual, and I do believe that it has a serious impact on health and well-being. I think it's all connected. Like I said, I'm 84 years old, and I have minor health issues as an 84-year-old person. But I have a good sense of humor, and I believe that that's very, very necessary. Is to have a healthy attitude about life and a good sense of humor, and not looking backwards and regret. I've tried to live each day and finish each day, complete each day, and let that day be going into eternity. Not holding grudges, not carrying over old baggage. I try not to carry yesterday's baggage into my today.
Oh, that's a good word right there. So in light of time, because these are 15, 20-minute deals, we're going to call this part 1, because I definitely have some more that I'd like to, choir with you. So we're gonna shut this one down. B1love, Seattle, Washington. This is what we do, sharing love with all the folks out there in streaming land. And so stay tuned for part 2.
Welcome to B1 Ministries, a podcast for the outcast. Spiritual conversations for everyday people. Come on. B1 with your universe. B1 with love for all humanity. B1 spiritual conversations for everyday people. B1 with love for all humanity.